Hello. Welcome to another episode of Hardin Local with Hardin County Government. I'm Phil Tall, and this is our monthly public service series where we sit down with department heads and county officials and talk about the services that impact your daily life. This is episode 3 of this season. And today we are joined by Hardin County Sheriff John Ward. Sheriff Ward oversees one of the most multifaceted departments in county government. And I think a lot of people don't realize just how many different roles the sheriff's office plays in our community. Scott Lucas is not going to be with us today, but I will be your host. And we also have Brian Walker here. Good to see you both.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And just so you guys know, if you're not sure, Brian is the county's communication officer to help provide context. So he'll be here help providing context. And Sheriff Ward, we thank you for being here today.
Thank you for having me.
You are welcome. I think most people, see the patrol cars and think law enforcement. But from what I understand, the sheriff's office does a whole lot more than just patrols. We're excited to dig into what your office does.
Few things more.
Yeah, me and Brian were talking about it yesterday, and I kind of knew you guys did all these different things, but I'd never thought of them all at once at the same time. So I think that's something we're going to cover today, just to kind of so everybody knows there's a lot more that goes on than just law enforcement, and how it serves Hardin County residents. So let me introduce our guest properly. Sheriff John Ward is the elected sheriff of Hardin County. It's a constitutional office that carries responsibility ranging from law enforcement and investigations to tax collection and courthouse security. He oversees deputies, court bailiffs, school resource officers, and a whole administrative operation that touches nearly every aspect of county government. Also with us is Brian Walker, Hardin County's communication officer, who helps keep residents informed through press releases, rave alerts, and county social media, as well as a lot of other face-to-face and quite frankly, probably a bunch of other things I don't even know about. Brian, why don't you set the stage for us? What should people understand about this month's conversation?
So I'm just a naturally curious person myself, and I think the longer you're around something, the more you learn about it. And prior to coming to the county government, I knew quite a bit about what the sheriff's office does, but I'm literally still learning the day in and day outs of what this office does. And the sheriff can speak to the variations from county to county, which are pretty fascinating based on the size of your county or how many incorporated areas your county has, the population. What those sheriff's offices do versus ours could be very, very different. Now, the constitutional part, collecting taxes and other parts, they have to do that no matter their size. But, every sheriff's department doesn't offer the same things. And then there's different reasons for that, but he can speak to that. I got a couple of things I want to bring up a little bit today, too. We've got some employment opportunities here at the county, and we have a new program we just launched yesterday to try to help people pick up trash and keep the county clean.
Okay, great. So before we dive in with Sheriff Ward, did you have any other context or anything that makes the sheriff's office unique in terms of county government structure that you wanted to discuss?
Well, it is very unique, as like you pointed out. They're court bailiffs, they're school resource officers, they're patrolling. They do a lot more than, like you said. They just don't just pull people over or what have you. And the arms of the department, with technology and the advent of modern policing, there's a lot more to it than just a person in a car with a gun. And he can speak to the advances just in police work in the years that he has been in law enforcement. And he might even want to address a little bit his history prior to coming here. Some, sheriffs have different degrees of background as well.
All right, great. I'm going to move you, Sheriff, to the top, front and center.
Okay.
And I'll move myself down here. So yeah, let's start with that. Why don't you give us a little background about how you got into law enforcement and why you do it?
Well, I had always had an interest in law enforcement as a young man. And, when I started in law enforcement, sheriffs still couldn't succeed themselves. And usually you'd have a sheriff can run and be sheriff for 4 years, and had to step down. And usually the deputies changed back then, and so definitely wasn't a career for a young man as a deputy. And I started my career. I was in the process of getting on the Kentucky State Police when they hired me in Vine Grove, and I was there for a little over a year and a half until I entered the Kentucky State Police Academy, where I spent 28 years. I worked in various positions around the state, and eventually got back to the Elizabethtown Post, and where I spent my last 9 years on the state police as a post commander there. And I'd always wanted to run for sheriff of Hardin County, and Charlie Williams happened to be retiring, so that's when I decided it was time to run. And I wasn't familiar, had never ran a political race, and so I had a lot to learn, but was successful at that. And after winning the general election, I got to thinking. I thought, well, gosh, is this sheriff's job going to be boring compared to my old job as a post commander? And boy, little did I know, this is the busiest job I've ever had, but it's the best job I've ever had. I enjoy doing it. You're working, solely for the citizens of Hardin County. It's the highlight of my law enforcement career.
Okay. What year did you start? What did you win that and become sheriff?
The election, I won the primary and general election in 2014,
Okay.
and was sworn in on January the 1st as sheriff. January the 1st of 2015.
Okay, so now this is you've been doing it for a decade now.
Yes.
This is going on your 11th year, sounds like. All right, well, let's jump in.
And I tell you what, and I will, if I can add right there, I feel very fortunate in saying that. I know when I was a young man, our farm was close to a standard station there on the interstate in Upton, and I'd ride my bike up and hang out at the Standard Oil for a while, and I'd see younger men come in catching a ride to Louisville to go to a factory and work, and all they could talk about, they couldn't wait till they were old enough to retire. And I thought, golly, these guys are wishing their life away. And I feel blessed that I'm in a career that to this day, I still don't want to think about retiring. I feel I can still serve and help people, and don't want to think about retiring.
Okay, that's great. I think that's pretty. That's something that I admire in people. My father, my grandfather, they were the people that just kept working. Specifically, my grandfather, he never stopped working, until he had to. But let's get into. I wanted to start off with a little review of the year 2025.
Okay.
And so if we could just jump into that, and if you don't know some of these, just say skip, and we'll move on to the next one.
Okay.
So how many, can you give us an overview of the year? How many service calls did your office respond to, and what does that activity look like?
We had a total of 26,675 calls for service in 2025. And in 2024, we had just a little over 23,000. And we've seen that increase every year, throughout the years. You can see a progressive increase, and it shows. Our county is growing. And as far as the calls for service, it's a vast array of calls. Every year it varies, but domestic violence, mainly. When we talk about calls for service, it's trouble call, because people don't call 911 for to check and see how somebody's doing. We hope it's for emergencies only. So they're having some kind of trouble in their life, whether it's a domestic situation, some kind of civil disagreement, or a theft, and even more serious criminal cases or accidents. It and we and that also counts the papers we serve. It
Mhm.
in 2025 we served over 10,000 civil processes, and those are papers that come from the court for us to serve. We also part of the administrative duties here, inspect vehicles. Now, that's not included in the calls for service, but this year over 8,700 vehicles were inspected. That's when an out-of-state vehicle comes into Kentucky. It has to be registered in Kentucky. It has to have a sheriff's inspection. So that's
Mhm.
87 vehicles inspected.
To interrupt for a moment, Sheriff
Yes.
Ward, what is the purpose of that inspection? Is it to see if it's functionally safe to be on the road? Are you
Well,
checking the horn and the lights, or to see if
that
it's stolen, or?
that's part of the inspection. This whole process started several years ago to help combat auto thefts, because a lot of people would steal a car and go to a state that had easy title laws. Ohio, for one. I know in one of my jobs on the state police, I was over auto theft, and back then people would go to Ohio to wash a title, and and bring back to Kentucky a clean title and transfer that car and register it in Kentucky. So that those are some of the things that was put in place to combat auto theft. So if you bring a car in from another state, that VIN's got to be inspected, and the mileage, and also those safety issues that you talked about, Brian.
Okay, that's interesting. Um, how I kind of want to move over to arrests. How many arrests were made in 2025, and what kind of investigations does your office handle?
We had a total of 1,166 arrests, and that goes from everything from a petty crime to the most serious crimes. Our we have a detective unit that's trained. They've been to the Criminalistics Academy. That's an extensive 10-week course, and two of our detectives have graduated from that academy, and they're capable of handling any kind of criminal issue that we have come up. That number includes DUIs, assaults, burglaries, and various other criminal acts.
Mhm. Okay. Now, here's something a lot of people I don't think know. Your office is also a tax collection agency. Can you
Yeah.
explain that role and how
Well,
much revenue
let me
that you all
let me make
collected? Go ahead.
let me make something clear to the people that are listening.
Okay.
Now, our office just collects the taxes. We don't set the tax rates. We mail the bills out and collect the taxes. But yes, we do, and
Do
a lot of
people
people.
assume that you're personally setting the tax rates?
Well,
You never know.
and I tell you what, November every 4 years, when your name's on the ballot, that's a bad time for that tax bill to go out that has your name on that tax bill. So I want to make that clear, that the sheriff's office, it just goes through the sheriff's office. But in 2025, we billed out right at $100 million in tax bills, and
Mhm.
we'll collect right at 99% before we're finished on April the 15th. The majority of that number was collected during November and December, during the discount time periods, and so the majority of the county taxes have been collected already.
Okay. And I guess, like, for people that may not know, when we talk about that $100 million, that's a couple different places. The school board sets some of that, right? And then the county government sets the rest of it.
Yes, school board. It's distributed to the school board, and state government gets that, and and also one thing that, and when we're talking about taxes, I'd be remiss not to mention, back in 2015, we started mobile tax collection. That's something that I when I first ran for sheriff, I talked about we were going to do mobile tax collection, and to my knowledge, we're the only sheriff's office in the state that does that. We go to 8 different locations across the county during the month of November, and we have this year. Uh, this year we had the biggest turnout we've ever had. It was our 11th year of it, and have a great turnout. And not that people can mail them in, but people want to pay. A lot of people want to pay their taxes in person, and this way they get to come into their local communities and pay them in person. One day we go to Upton, the fire station in Upton. When we leave Upton, we go to Sonora. After we leave Sonora, we go to White Mills. The next day we go to Radcliffe, then Vine Grove, and on to West Point. The final day of mobile tax collection, we start out at 84 Fire Department, our West Hardin Fire Department at the West 84 station, and then move to the 86th Fire Department in Cecilia. So we had a great turnout at every location this year. So that's something that we're proud of, and it's great to get out and see the great people of Hardin County.
Yeah, I feel that. So beyond patrols, arrests, your office also serves court papers, provides courthouse security, and also, like you said, handles the vehicle inspections. How much of your workload is administrative versus enforcement?
Well, it varies throughout the year, especially during tax time. We might have, the tax, the administrative part probably, the percentage is higher than the law enforcement function, but we always have a large, a tremendous amount of papers that has to be served. That a lot of these court papers have timelines that they have to be served on, and we do our best to get them out, because we don't want the judge, district or circuit judge, calling us and asking why this paper hadn't been served. But so it's a balance between administrative. And then with that, the law enforcement function never stops. And that's the thing about a deputy out here working the road. He's not just sitting waiting for one call. After he finishes that call, he might not have anything to do for an hour or two until he gets another call. That doesn't happen. After that deputy goes to a call, he or she is out going to the next paper they have to serve. It's constant. They don't have much downtime. If they have any downtime, they're pulled off to the side of the road, completing all the reports that they have to make, or trying to do some of our different patrols. We patrol the county. We use directed patrol to increase enforcement in certain areas where we're having problems. With the tremendous amount of administrative duties that the deputies have, that's hard to do. But as you can see, well, I'm proud that accidents went down, even if it's only near just 70 accidents this year. But 70, if you save one life, it's worth it. But we patrol high traffic areas, high DUI crime areas. The deputies, if they're not trying to serve papers, we have we do security checks at different locations around the county, and so a deputy here in Hardin County, which you would expect that because Hardin County is one of the larger counties in the Commonwealth. So it's a busy position, and law enforcement in general. I know in my days, I spoke about the state police. Back when I started, there was more sworn officers than there is now, and I think a lot of different agencies were like that. But you learn to do more with less, and technology helps a lot with makes you able to be able to do more with less.
Yes. Well, that's great information. We thank you for that. We're going to move on to my second segment, which I've called Constitutional Sheriff. But before I do that, I wanted to say hey to David Mather, who said, "Hello, John, Phil, and Brian. Good to see you all." It's good to see you, David.
Oh, David.
And then Sean laughed. I think he was laughing whenever Brian was laughing about the tax.
Maybe he just thinks we're funny. I don't know.
Yeah. Thank you, Sean. All right, let's move into this segment. And this is something that Brian said to me on the phone yesterday when we were talking about this conversation. He
Not everything we said on the phone was for this broadcast.
True. But this was just about the sheriff being a constitutional office. That's all. So for folks watching who might not understand what that means, how is the sheriff's office different from, say, Elizabethtown Police Department or Kentucky State Police?
Well, the sheriff is the only head of a law enforcement agency in Kentucky in the United States. The sheriff is the only head of an agency that has to get elected. So actually, the people hire the sheriff. And so that makes it a unique position in and of itself. Now, in Kentucky, the office of sheriff is outlined in the Constitution of Kentucky as far as the duties of the sheriff.
Okay. Brian also mentioned that your office does everything, like we mentioned, patrols, tax collection, the courthouse security. Can you walk us through some of those hats we hadn't talked about yet, like maybe courthouse security and serving papers? We hadn't really talked about or anything else. I think he even mentioned that you all have like a service dog now for.
Oh, yes. It be glad to. Courthouse security, that's everything from when you go in down at the courthouse, you'll be greeted by deputies that checks everybody in that goes through. And that's to ensure the safety of everyone in that building, people that are going to court there, and also the judges and the staff. Because there's been terrible things that's happened in the courthouses in the past. So there's deputies doing that, and there's also deputies in the courtroom that are bailiffs that ensure everything's going well in the courtroom and that there's no problems. Because there's a lot of emotions involved in a lot of court cases, and a deputy is there to make sure everything goes smoothly. If it's a prisoner involved, there's going to be deputies there to take the prisoners from the courtroom back down to a holding cell in the courtroom, or down to the holding cell in the basement. And we also transport those courthouse deputies transport prisoners to and from the court. Now, you talked about our therapy dog. That's one of our school resource officers has a therapy dog. And that dog, we received a grant that paid for the dog and the deputy's training, and that has been a tremendous hit. Wilbur is the dog's name. The kids love him, and the staff at school love him. If a kid's having a hard time, or just some issues that day, Wilbur can come around and he can love on Wilbur, and Wilbur love on the child, and it can make a difference. And the school is even in the process of trying to get another therapy dog for one of our deputies in the school, because it's a tremendous asset. We've taken that therapy dog to different schools. And that goes into SROs, school resource officers. That's another another
Could you talk a little bit about what they do, what their responsibilities are?
Yes. We started that in 2015. We started out with one SRO. We currently have 18. Well, 17. We have 18 positions, but we have 17 currently at this time, but serving in the Hardin County schools. And that's through a partnership that we have with the Hardin County school system. They reimburse us for partial funding for those deputies. They pay for the deputies for the 9 months during school, and the other 3 months is on the sheriff's office. But those deputies come in and work. All but three of the deputies elect to just work during the school year. But the rest of them come, serve papers, do all the work, do all the work of a deputy, and plus they fill in while other deputies are gone to in-service, and those school resource officers still have to get their 40 hours of in-service through the year. So they get their in-service during the summer. So it's been a tremendous benefit. Brian and I were on Quixie earlier this morning, and I tell this about Trish Cottle. One time when I was down filling in for Brian, he was on vacation, and Trish was telling me about her school resource officer in Florida when she was in high school, and how she still stays in contact. Now, Brian brought this up later that was 30 years ago. I wasn't going to say that, because I don't want Trish mad at me. But and that just shows what a tremendous effect that SRO can have on a child. Because trust me, a lot of these kids in our schools don't have a good first experience with a law enforcement officer. I can say, and Phil, I'm sure you and Brian can say, you didn't have an experience with a police officer coming to your house for any reason when you were growing up, unless they were lost or asking a question or something. But it's not like that in a lot of households, and this gives an opportunity for children to bond with a law enforcement official. And these schools, what's the chances of an SRO being at a certain location if something does happen? Not, some of these buildings are huge, but they gather intelligence. These kids trust these individuals, and they tell them a lot. They will tell the SRO something before it happens, and we're able to act before something bad happens. And that's what we hope to do in every case. But,
there's been a lot of instances of that nationally, but even in this county and in this state, over the last few years, you'll hear there was a potential attack or threat, or something had been said, and somebody, one of the students or what have you, will end up speaking to a resource officer and expressing what they'd heard or what they'd seen. And sometimes, some sort of criminal activity, drugs or some sort of violent act, these things get reported. And, I went to a very small school, and it was a very long time ago, but we didn't have resource officers back then. And, I know things went on that I sure would have never felt comfortable going and telling a teacher about it or something. And that's nothing against them. It's just, there wasn't anybody I would have felt comfortable talking to. And I think this is a big development nationally, and I think it's a good movement that all the schools or most schools have taken into account and brought those folks in.
Yeah.
I know when I first, in 2015, when we first started this SRO program here, I thought, gosh, my daughter, well, she was 8 years old then. And I thought, boy, that's sad to worry about your child. And then I thought, it's sad that we have to have somebody in our schools. But then I got to thinking. I thought, I'm glad we do it, because today's times, you just can't be can't do enough to protect our children.
I agree. Um, it's pretty remarkable all the different roles that the sheriff's office does play when you kind of add them all together and think about them at the same time. So I think there used to be a time when deputies didn't require formal law enforcement training, but now they do. Well, what are the requirements now for someone to become a deputy?
Well, one thing that really helped on that, when sheriffs weren't allowed to succeed themselves, that's when deputies weren't required to have formal law enforcement training. And anybody could be a deputy. You go to the sheriff's, yeah, I'll do it. Give me a badge and a gun. And
And you're not exaggerating about that, are you?
no, I'm not. It's unbelievable the changes that I've seen in my law enforcement career. Because when I started, it was like that. But the changes I've seen in sheriff's office becoming professional law enforcement agencies, full service law enforcement agencies, and it's unbelievable the changes have made. A deputy has to go. They have to have the same amount of training that if somebody's going to be a Louisville Metro police officer, Lexington police, Frankfurt police officer, they have the same training that anybody in these other agencies have, and they also have to go. It's over 800 hours of classroom instruction, and they have to maintain at least 40 hours of in-service each year. After they graduate, they go through a PTO. That's a patrol training officer, and that's 480 hours that they have to work with a senior officer that helps train them. And the thing about it is, you can get all the classroom training, and that's good. The more classroom training you can get, but actually doing the job out where the rubber meets the road, that's where you really start to sink. It starts to sink in, and you start to really learn things. So that PTO program is very important.
That's good, interesting information to know. So you're an elected official with your own constitutional authority, but your budget still has to be approved by physical court. Can you just talk briefly about how that works?
Yes, we have to prepare a budget every year and go to the court and get it approved, and we're fortunate. I've been fortunate in my my time as sheriff to always have a court that is willing to work with you on helping you maintain this office. I know for the past 2 years, I've maintained the same budget. This is the third year we maintained the same budget, and that's because we work hard to be. We're not going to. It's taxpayer dollars, and we're serious about how that's spent. But the county is limited on a budget. The county has big budget items, and we understand that, and do our best to work with fiscal court, and court has worked with us. It
All right. Curious about what your office when it interacts with other county departments. How's that work, especially like with the jailer or the coroner's office?
we don't have anything to do with them. No, I just kidding. We have
I was like, what?
we
We
have
just drop them at the door and tell them
we have a great jailer and a great coroner here in Hardin County, and we work hand in hand together. And from my friends that I know across this nation, sheriffs that I know, when I talk to them, I'm always proud to be from Kentucky. But when I talk to them, I'm very proud to be from Kentucky, because Kentucky is the only state that the sheriff doesn't run the jail. And I'm thankful that here in Kentucky, we still have jailers. No, we work together. It's just like all the other law enforcement agencies in this county. It's no competition. No competition about who does what. The main thing is the safety of this community, and we all work hand in hand to see that Hardin County is as safe as it possibly can be.
And Sheriff, those are both also elected positions, which is unique in this state, as you said. Does it vary county to county or state to state what other agencies besides an actual police department or a sheriff's office has for arrest powers? Say, for example, does the coroner's office have arrest powers? Does the jail have arrest powers? How would that work, or would they need to call an agency to come in?
Well, the coroner does have certain arrest powers along with the jailer. But as far as speaking about the extent of that, I'm not familiar.
So constitutionally, there is some, but it's
Yes.
Gotcha. That's interesting. I want to move us along here to the next segment, which is special assignments. And I think this was part of me and Brian's conversation earlier. This was something I didn't know. I understand you have a deputy assigned to work at the Louisville airport for drug interdiction. Can you tell us about that?
Yes. We had an opportunity arise that to send a deputy to the airport, and there's a tremendous amount of drugs shipped that are shipped through the airport, and those are drugs that are shipped all over the United States, but to Kentucky, and those drugs don't just stay in Jefferson County; they come south as well, and it's been very productive. We've our deputy has a dog, and they have recovered a lot of narcotics and cash that is shipped from drug dealers to other drug dealers across this nation, and it's amazing the fentanyl. Fentanyl has been a big cause of deaths here in Hardin County, and we've had pills come in that are laced, look like a Percocet, but actually they're fentanyl, and killing young people, are killing individuals, and that but a lot of narcotics are shipped in through Louisville, the Louisville International Airport, or the international airport there in Louisville.
Sheriff, do other sheriff's departments or police agencies also have people at the airport? Is it a cooperative effort between the agencies?
Yes, they do. It's a joint effort between local and our federal friends, and the DEA, Homeland Security are also there.
Is that just in the I guess consumer passenger side of the airport, or is that also the UPS?
It's the entire airport.
Okay, the entire airport. All right. Do you guys at the sheriff's office, do you have specific patrol zones or districts within the county, or deputies just cover wherever they're needed?
Now the deputies have certain areas where they serve papers, that they're responsible for certain areas to see that these papers are served in that area. But as far as patrol zones, no, unless it's a directed patrol, like I spoke of earlier. If there's an area where we're having specific problems with speeding, DUIs, or certain issues, then we're going to have directed patrol.
Okay. It's really interesting to see how much coordination happens behind the scenes to keep a community safe. A lot of moving parts we never really think about, I think. So let's move on to our last segment here called Inside the Sheriff's Office. And Sheriff, let's talk about the people side of things. How many employees does the Sheriff's Office have, and what does the team structure look like?
Well, it's a fluid number. We're right there at 80 total personnel. That's including full-time and part-time. We have a few part-time civilian positions, and the structure, we have 17 in the SRO program. 18 is where we need to be at, but 15 at the courthouse. And as far as operations goes, when I say operations, we're talking about the court. I mean, we're talking about working the road, investigations, all that. We're looking at close to 40 individuals, and then along with our administrative staff. Here, in recent years, with changes in, we've had to add to our administrative staff just because of open records requests. We have to have an individual that just deals with open records requests.
Can you explain what that means for a minute? Because a lot of folks may not realize how many things are not forbidden for the public to see. What is an open records request?
Well, when we have a case report after that case is closed, videos, with body cameras, we're that's something that I'm glad to say that we have. We have body cameras and in-car video cameras. That's something that it was a big expense to get them, but it's something that needs to be, and I'm proud that we have those. But
Okay.
also, I hadn't mentioned our drone unit. We have a state-of-the-art drone unit that's as probably we compare to any agency in the state with our drones, and it all started through a generous gift from our local Hardin County Farm Bureau. Accident reconstruction. We for years we depended on local agencies to come out, to be generous enough to come out and reconstruct a scene for us, and we were able to acquire the equipment, and we got the state-of-the-art equipment, and our reconstructionists are second to none. I remember the first weekend after we had our equipment, and getting a call, another agency that always helps us had asked us to come to their municipality and reconstruct an accident scene. And that made me feel good, because that's what we're all here for. We want to help one another. So So we have state-of-the-art accident reconstruction. We also have a system that we can go to a crime scene, and we can basically do 3D or 2D diagram of this crime scene just off of this equipment that we have, and what a difference that makes for court presentation.
Mhm.
And that goes back to what I talked about earlier about technology.
Mm.
Technology makes such a difference, and the accident reconstruction equipment that's also used on crime scenes, along with our drone. We'll use the drone to go up and photograph a crime scene. It all works hand in hand, and we're fortunate to have that, and to have people that are trained and qualified to operate all that equipment.
I can imagine that really does help, especially the 3D. If you can like 3D map a crime scene, and then you can always go back and kind of look at it.
Exactly, and especially in when you're talking about court presentation,
Mhm.
that's a very impressive tool to have, to be able to show exactly the 3D version of that scene.
Yeah, that's pretty interesting. So, w- walk us through what it takes to become a deputy. If someone's interested in this career, what is the path?
Called the Hardin County Sheriff's Office. It we're always looking uh, for for individuals. We call us 270-765-5133, and we're gonna have we have a fitness test that we put you through, and we'll interview you and ask you a few questions, and but we'll get you on the road um,
Mhm.
to working to become a deputy, and talk to you about what you need to do in order to become a deputy. A lot of people
Mhm.
start out, we've had a lot of people that will start out working at the courthouse, and decide, well, this is for me. I want to go on and work the road. So that's a career path for some, and then we have some deputies that want to change and decide they want to be a school resource officer. So we have we have many different career paths here in the sheriff's
Mhm.
office. We'll be glad to talk to any interested individuals about a career in law enforcement.
Okay. That's true. Multifaceted. So there's like, there's probably several different type of profiles, so there's no point in us trying to limit it. Just give you guys a call and you'll figure it out together.
Yes, yes.
Um, are you guys hiring right now?
We're always in the hiring process. It seems like it. When you to be a police to be a deputy, you have to be a POP certified police officer, and when you have that POP certification, it's pretty easy to move around to different agencies,
Mhm.
and it so we're constantly looking for deputies, because and you can't blame a young person. Uh, I know Governor Bevin messed with the retirement system, and
Mhm.
that that changed things a lot. Because used to a hazardous duty retirement meant a lot, but now, since the retirement is more of a 401k, and they have to work more years to get that retirement, they um, they move around. It's not like the old days where somebody stays at one agency for several years. So
Mhm.
if you have a qualified, a POP certified deputy is a very marketable individual to other agencies. So
Mhm.
we have to compete. and that's tough, because some agencies are able to pay more.
Mhm.
So I offer different benefits. Insurance nowadays
Mhm.
is a tough for everybody. Uh, but we'd like to talk to anyone that's interested in a career in law enforcement.
Okay. What do you think the most rewarding part of this work is? What keeps you and your deputies motivated?
Well, and Phil, it's amazing how just the smallest thing it can touch your heart.
Mhm.
Somebody telling you thank you or being able to help somebody out. I know I've been on vacation before. Or not vacation. It's always something for it. Was at a beta convention with my daughter in Savannah, and got a call about an issue that didn't really involve. It wasn't a law enforcement issue. It was a about a skunk
Mm.
stuck in a breezeway at somebody's house, wanting to know what what they could do. And after I got off the phone, my wife asked me what that was, and I told her. And she said, "What's that got to do with being sheriff?" And I said, "Hey, they called and asked what they can do.
Mhm.
If they didn't need help, they wouldn't have called me. So I helped them, and we got the skunk out of there. It
Mhm.
was able to contact the right people to get them out. So it just little things like that, being able to help help people. That
Yeah.
that makes the job worthwhile.
Mhm. That sounds like it. That's great. It's clear that the sheriff's office is about a lot more than just enforcement, and that there's real emphasis on being part of the community, building relationships, and providing services that go beyond what most people think when they think sheriff's office.
Yes.
So, so Sheriff John Ward, we thank you so much for being here today and walking us through everything your office does. I think a lot of people, myself included, learned things today they didn't know before. The
Well,
scope of what the sheriff's office handles is really impressive, and we appreciate the transparency. Brian, as always, thank you for helping us understand the context and structure of county government.
Thank you.
Before we wrap up, do you have any county announcements for the community?
Yes, a couple of things. We do have two dates will be closed coming up very soon. Monday, the 19th of this month is Dr. Martin Luther King Jr.'s day, and we'll be off for that day. And then February 16th is President's Day. We will be closed that day as well. And then announcement on some job openings, hiring quite a few in our EMS department, EMTs part and full time. And advanced in those roles as well, and then paramedics full and part-time. We also have telecommunications opening in 911. And we started something new yesterday. This is something we didn't announce until literally not even an entire day ago. It's called the 20-20-20 Challenge. We want you to go outside 20 minutes a day. We want you to pick up 20 pieces of trash, and we want you to do that for 20 days in a row. And if we can get about 100 people to do that, the estimated weight of trash that would be picked up off the ground is somewhere around 5,000 pounds, which is
Mhm.
pretty significant. And places that you would want to pick up trash would recommend a park or a wooded area or some sort of a neighborhood. We definitely do not encourage you or wish for you to walk alongside a busy roadway or a highway. Please leave that to professionals or the jail crew or somebody like that. If you ever have any
Mhm.
questions, you can refer to us on our website, hardincountyky.gov. We have social media platforms, and you can reach me here at my office Monday through Friday. I'm available after hours as well, quite frankly. All my contact information is available on there as well. And you can send me an email at bwalker@hardincountyky.gov. And we're just trying to be very transparent, show people what's happening in county government. Oh, and one more thing, our next town hall meeting, this is where you can come in and address fiscal court about any topic, and there is no agenda. It's open to any of our residents. Next town hall forum is January the 26th at 5:30 p.m. at fiscal court here in the county government building.
All right. What was that date again?
That is January 26th. It's a Monday. We do that
Okay.
once a quarter.
All right. Well, before I close out, I want to thank you, John, Sheriff Ward, for joining us.
Thank you, Phil.
Did you have any closing comments?
It's been a pleasure. Appreciate you having me on. Always glad to talk about the Hardin County Sheriff's Office.
Great. Well, we thank you for doing that. And next month, February 6th is our next one, Brian?
I believe that's correct. Yes.
Who are we going to have next month? Was it a swap?
We had to do a swap. I'm double checking on who we're going to have with us, but we'll have another county office or elected official in to talk about their role in government and what they do for our folks.
All right. And thank you everyone for watching and commenting. This is a two-way conversation, so you don't have to be a stranger. If you have questions or feedback, if you didn't feel comfortable dropping it in the comments, you can always private message them to me. I'll make sure to pass them along to Brian Walker, or you can reach out to county government yourself or to the sheriff's office. But if you'd rather not and you'd rather me find out for you, just send us a private message and we'll do that for you as well. So we will be back with the Hardin County Government on February 6th, which I think is a Friday at 1 p.m. And we'll announce details on our social media as soon as we know. So we thank you for joining us, and stay in the know, Hardin County, and have a safe weekend.